We're gonna drain the swamp, folks. It's gonna be so empty. Such clear water. You're gonna swim in it with your kids right in Washington, D.C.
Now, if y'all believe that, I got some beachfront property on Mars I can't wait to sell you. So Robert Kennedy's plan to create unity actually involves helping us dismantle corporate capture, which is the actual swamp. And there's a really interesting example of that involves both Trump and Harris that I think we should dive into. So this example of corporate corruption involves a guy you might have heard of named Steve Mnuchin. Well, Steve Mnuchin got into a lot of trouble because he short sold people's houses by the tune of like $80,000 via foreclosure. He was the foreclosure guy. So when Kamala Harris was the attorney general out there in Northern California, she was urged strongly by her Consumer Protection Department to prosecute Steve Mnuchin because of his corrupt foreclosure business. And she had a record of holding big banks accountable before, so it seemed like this is what she would do. But she did not. And the reason why she didn't is quite interesting. So one of Mnuchin's partners was One West Bank, and one of the shareholders in there was a dude you might have heard of named George Soros, him again. The reason why she didn't pursue it could have something to do with Mnuchin donating large sums of money to Harris's campaign at the time. So now that Harris refuses to prosecute Mnuchin, guess who appoints him as Treasury Secretary? Donald J. Trump. Mnuchin is just one example of how both parties are subject to this kind of influence and corruption. And me as a voter, I'm concerned about if either one of them gets into office, what's changed? More and more voters are starting to see this corrupt merger, and that's also as part of driving them to become independents who identify with neither party. And we understand that when we fight each other, these corporations profit. In fact, the former CEO of BlackRock says so himself.
I think what's happening today in the markets is an endorsement of divided government.
If we want to be free from this kind of corruption, it's going to have to start with the voters. We, the people, are going to have to cast our votes for a candidate who is not part and parcel to any of this madness. And that candidate is Robert Kennedy Jr.